Today, I'm going to talk about the most valuable resource available to any Pokemon Go PvP player, PvPoke.com. Now, whether you are a brand new player or have tens of thousands of battles under your belt, I think almost anyone can benefit from learning all that PvPoke has to offer. My name is HomeSliceHenry, and welcome to More Slice Henry, my second channel. As someone who has played since the start of PvP, PvPoke is far and away the website that I use the most to help me get better at battling. I'm on PvPoke so often that I actually have a shortcut put on the home screen of my phone because that is how frequently I utilize this website. So today I'm going to be doing a deep dive on PvPoke, explaining all the features, the ways you can use them, and hopefully even reveal some things that you didn't realize are on PvPoke.com. Well, to start with, let's go to the Battle tab. The Battle tab, in my eyes, is the beating heart of PvPoke, allowing you to simulate matchups with a Pokemon of your choice, let's say Malamar, against a specific opposing Pokemon, let's say Empoleon. We can sim that here, get a bunch of information on who wins the matchup, the shielding scenarios that are won, and even a shout to the optimal move timing that you should throw on in this matchup. Or you could also sim it against an entire meta. Like we can go to the multi-tab right here, and I can actually pick a meta. So we're just going to do the Open Great League, the meta in the ones, and we can see Malamar, pretty good Pokemon. It's winning 62.5% of its matches. Now, this simulation offers an insane amount of customization, as you're able to adjust things, including the specific IVs of the Pokemon that you're simulating for, the movesets, the shadow status, and even stat modifiers. Like, does your Pokemon have any attack boosts, attack drops, defense boosts, or defense drops? Additionally, you can also adjust the starting HP and energy to simulate a matchup where one of the Pokemon is at an energy advantage, let's say as a counter switch scenario, or if they've recently taken a knockout and they've exited a matchup not at full HP. Now, I do want to showcase a few examples of how these specific customizations can alter matchups. So let's actually just use the matchup that we were taking a look at here earlier, the Malamar versus Empoleon. So as we simulate the Malamar versus Empoleon matchup here, we can see Malamar is actually able to emerge victorious. Malamar wins the zeros and the ones, but Empoleon wins the twos. So even though you have a super effective move and superpower, if you lead Malamar to Empoleon, Empoleon can just play the twos, and that's always going to be a winning matchup for them. Let's say you're trying to find a way and say, you know what? I want to try and find a way for my Malamar to actually consistently beat Empoleon. Well, this is where some of the IV customization can come in. Let's take the Empoleon and let's put it at the rank 1, which you can do by just clicking the maximize button right here. So we now have a rank 1 Empoleon, and let's just make a very attack weighted Malamar. Let's do like a 15, 0, 1. Okay, this is a very attack weighted Malamar. We're getting to 1497, so the stats are distributed fairly optimally here. And if we sim this, then what do you know? We're suddenly winning the 2 shield, because the only reason Empoleon was winning the 2s is that both Pokemon had identical pacing, but Empoleon was winning charge attack priority. Well, now we know if we want to sell out and run a massive amount of attack on the Malamar, we could potentially flip that matchup on its head. Now, let's say, however, you want to try and find ways to win the 2-shot matchup against Empoleon without removing all of your HP and defense, and mainly just selling out to win the charge attack priority tie. Well, there are ways you could do that as well, presumably if you use Malamar as a safe switch. Let's say you use Malamar as a safe switch and your opponent answers with Empoleon and you're able to get a 2 Psywave head start. Well, even though your opponent counter-switched in here very quickly, suddenly you're actually able to win the 2s because now you have the pacing advantage. And that can be some of the things that are very helpful about trying to simulate matchups, but giving one of the Pokemon a small energy head start is you can figure out what kind of energy advantage do I need to potentially flip a matchup. And in this case, as we go back to sim it from even energy, it actually tells us 1 turn of difference can flip the scenario. So even if you're up 1 singular Psywave, then congratulations, your Malamar is actually winning the Empoleon 2s, whereas previously, it does not typically do that. The Battle tab can also show you how to help find breakpoints and bulk points. Now, let's actually take a look at a different matchup here. Let's go with the Shadow Bug Bite Fortress. It defaults to Volt Switch, but we're going for Bug Bite for this example, and Shadow Sableye. Now, bulk points and breakpoints are an extremely important part of Pokemon Go. A breakpoint basically means that you are doing 1 extra damage for each fast move you do onto your opponent, and conversely, a bulk point means you are taking 1 less damage from each of your opponent's fast moves. Now that sounds pretty important, and it definitely is, so I'm going to showcase how you can find them. So as we simulate the Shadow Fortress versus Shadow Sableye matchup, and we scroll all the way down here, we can see that our Shadow Fortress is actually not doing too well. We're losing the ones and the twos. But if we scroll all the way down, this is when we can learn something kind of interesting. There is actually a bulk point at play here. And as we go back and take a look at how much damage we are dealing with our bug bites, we're only dealing 4 damage per bug bite, which means that the Sableye has enough defense where they are actually bulk pointing us. So if the opponent had, let's say, not as good of a Sableye, currently our opponent's using a 4-15-15 Sableye. Let's go to a 4-10-15 Sableye. Then all of a sudden, look at this. Our bug bite damage jumps up to 5, and we're actually winning the 2 shield against Sableye, whereas previously we were not able to do so. So as the Shadow Fortress, you can potentially opt for running slightly higher attack to try and get the breakpoint, or as a Sableye player, you can try and run higher defense to try and negate a potential breakpoint by bulk pointing them back. So there's a little bit of a game of cat and mouse here, but as we go back to the original defense stat here, the default Sableye, the 4-15-15, it will actually show you the minimum attack that you would need to get this breakpoint as the Shadow Fortress, and the attacks that you would need to guarantee it. The 110.95, we're at 109.7, so we're not super far off here. So if we go to, let's say, like a 9 attack Fortress here, so like a 9, 15, 13, I believe we needed to get to 110.95, so we will need a bit more attack here. So we can go to like a 12, 15, 13, got a Fortress. What do you know? Even against the higher defense Sableye, we're actually still able to get that extra damage because we're breakpointing them. So this is a tool that a lot of top battlers will use when it comes to taking a look at meta matchups, trying to figure out, are there certain breakpoints or bulk points that I can target with specific IV spreads in order to try and control a matchup? Because Shadow Fortress, it's a very common Pokemon, so if you're running Sableye, opting for a higher defense Sableye so that way you take only 4 damage per bug bite instead of 5 can be a pretty massive game changer. Next up, let's talk about the Matrix tool. Now, the Matrix tool is where I go if I have several IV spreads for a Pokemon and I'm not sure which one to build. I can input my IVs on the left side. Let's say, again, we are taking a look at Malamar, and let's say I have the rank 1, and then I have one that I hatched from an egg. So like a 12, 15, 50. So it allows me to input my IV spreads on the left side, sim it against the meta that I would play it in. So we have a bunch of different meta options here. I'm going to pick the Open Great League meta, and then I can choose for the Open Great League for apply to group right here. I can choose whether I go for default IVs, maximum stat product. I will usually sim it against maximum stat product. And then this will allow me to see what matchups I would gain or drop with my different Malamar spreads. So if we go all the way down to the bottom here, we can see that the rank 1 Malamar is winning a lot more matchups. The pluses are there's a few pickups for the like hatched Malamar. I'm losing a lot of matchups by not having the bulk, and this is in the 1s. So I can also check it in the 0s here. Again, we're dropping a lot of matchups as the attack weight. And then finally, I can take a look at the 2 shield scenario. And again, in the 2s, it's really looking like my potential rank 1 Malamar would be the better Pokemon to use. And you can even go through here and scroll and see the matchups that drop. So as we scroll, we can see that the Mantine matchup, normally we can do pretty well there, but because we don't have the bulk, we end up dropping that matchup. We can scroll over here and see that unfortunately Seaking is a matchup that we now lose. And if you guys have watched the channel before, you know that would hurt my heart. I really do not like Seaking whatsoever. So that tells me that it'd be a lot better to run a high IV Malamar rather than the high attack. But this will also show you different breakpoints and bulk points and potential CMP tie wins or losses as well. So the attack weighted Malamar, I'd get extra Psywave damage versus Dugong and Annihilate, 2 matchups that are already pretty good for me. So if I go over here to Dugong taking extra, like getting extra Psywave damage there actually doesn't even help me because I actually end up losing that matchup. So, and then we see the reason why we're losing all these matchups, all these lost bulk points. That means Altaria is doing extra Dragon Breath damage, Annihilate's doing extra counter damage. The list just goes on and on and on and on. This tells me between my 2 options that I'm probably going to be a lot better off running the rank 1 because the rank 1 just performs significantly better in battle. So This basically just gives you very valuable information because everyone is always going to try to build the best possible Pokemon, and they might have a couple different IV spreads that they're unsure of. Put them in this matrix tool, sim it against the meta that you're looking at, and take a look at the matchups. Figure out if there's some trade-off, then what matchups would I prefer to win? Like, am I suddenly losing a matchup to Kanto Ninetales, but then picking up a win against the Pokemon that isn't really used, like a Toxapex or something? Then the Kanto Ninetales win is obviously a lot more important because that's a played Pokemon, whereas Toxapex really isn't played. So this is realistically, if you're ever kind of in between two Pokemon or several different Pokemon in terms of what IV spreads you build, the Matrix tool is without a doubt going to be your best friend. Next up, we'll go to the Team Builder tab. From a Show 6 Pick 3 perspective, this tab can be very, very great as you can input a few Pokemon that you're thinking of using, and PvPoke will let you know what potential core breakers exist. Like, let's say I'm trying to build for the World Championships, and I want to run Licky Licky, Malamar, and a Shadow Kanto Ninetales. So let's put all three of those in here. Let's generate, and let's take a look at what potential problem Pokemon could I encounter. Okay, right off the bat, Shadow Sableye, very strong into my team. Guzzlord also very strong into the team. Morpeko, that's not really played a lot in competitive. Kingdra could be a little bit problematic here. If I ran into a Pangoro, that could be quite difficult as well. And then what I really like about this tool is it will recommend you potential alternatives. It'll say, okay, Henry, you have some problems with this team. How can we fix it? Tinkaton. Tinkaton, one of the best Pokemon. So I can put Tinkaton on the team, and that's going to solve a lot of my problems because a lot of my problem Pokemon are Pokemon that Tinkaton does very well into. So when I add Tinkaton onto this Show 6 team, then suddenly our coverage is looking quite a lot better. So that is the way that a lot of people will try and flesh out Show 6 teams using the Team Builder, just because it ends up allowing you to kind of see potential pitfalls in your initial teams that have fewer than 6 Pokemon to allow you to kind of round those out nicely. I do also really like this tab from a Go Battle League perspective, which obviously does not involve Show 6 Pick 3, but for the Go Battle League, I really like this tab for trying to find anti-meta core breakers to popular cores. For example, this season, if you've been playing Great League, the core of the Shadow Kanto Ninetales and the Jumpluff has been absolutely inescapable. It is everywhere. And so if you're running into it constantly and saying, I don't know how to beat this core, well, you can input the 2 Pokemon that you're trying to core break, go all the way down to potential threats, and then it'll tell you what you can use to try and defeat those 2. Now, typically, if I'm trying to defeat a core, I will go into advanced, and I will actually switch this to the 2 shields here, because I don't just want to be able to beat them in the 0s and 1s. I want something that can very convincingly beat them, and I can also increase the scorecard length to 40, so that way I am able to see a lot of different options. I am trying to defeat this core no matter the cost. So now, as we go over to potential threats, these are Pokemon that are going to be able to beat both of our problematic Pokemon in the 2 shield. Clodsire, Mantine, Altaria. You can end up going down here quite a bit, and we see, what do you know, Alolan Marowak, a Pokemon that I actually featured kind of recently. But this can kind of be a nice way to identify a particular problematic core in the meta and find a creative way to try and core break it. Next up, we will go to the Rankings tab. Now, the Rankings tab offers a glimpse at the current Go Battle League metas in Great League, Ultra League, Master League, Master Premier, Weather Cup, a bunch of Battle Frontier metas and stuff like that. And it basically showcases which Pokemon appear strong at the current moment. Personally, I like to view these ranks as a helpful tool to check out upcoming metas to try and get an idea of what I might see, but also I try not to take the exact rankings as gospel. A Pokemon being poorly ranked on a rankings tab doesn't necessarily mean that it is unplayable. Like, for example, Rhyperior in the Master League is currently ranked 73rd, and I would argue Rhyperior is a top 10 Master League Pokemon. So just because a Pokemon isn't highly ranked, it doesn't mean that it's unplayable, but it would give me a bit of pause before trying it. Like, if you go to the Open Great League and you go all the way down to, like, let's say the 700s, and you're like, I'm going to run Charmeleon today. You can probably expect Charmeleon is not going to do the greatest. It is ranked in the 700s, probably for a very good reason. Next up, let's go to what I actually didn't know existed on PvPoke.com until a few months ago, the CMP chart. This is an incredible resource. So this lists the CMP ranges for the current meta. So we have Great League, Ultra League, Master League, even down to Weather Cup. And it basically shows the attack stat range for the meta Pokemon. So as you scroll down, you can kind of ask the question, can a Togekiss ever win charge attack priority against the Fearow? And you can look Togekiss 122 to 131, Fearow 128.6 to 141. So if you have a very attack-weighted Togekiss and a very bulky Fearow, it's possible, but kind of improbable. Now, there are a lot of Pokemon that have very similar attack stats. Like, let's say, Florges and Seismitoad have basically identical attack stats. So knowing that, and you can kind of see where a large glut of the meta can kind of be very similar. Like in the Florges, Malamar, Ninetales, Charjabug, Furret range, there's a lot of Pokemon that are in a very similar attack range. So potentially running a little bit of attack on one of those Pokemon could provide a bit of a competitive advantage, especially if you're encountering a lot of other Pokemon kind of in that CMP range. That can be a way to kind of gain a bit of a competitive advantage. So the list does list a range of outcomes. So just because a Charjabug is ranked below a Furret doesn't mean you're never going to win charge attack priority, because it's a very, very close one. But it provides a very helpful list of range of outcomes, and it can kind of give you a general idea of something you see towards the bottom of the list, like a Stunfisk, is always going to be losing charge attack priority to something towards the top, like a Kingdra. Next up, let's go to the training tab. Now, the training tab, we have top performers, and this is where you can actually see top performers for the Great League, the Ultra League, and the Master League. So this can be a really good place if you're looking for team ideas and you're just a little bit stumped. Nothing's really leaping out at you. You can go here and get some ideas. Like we have Tinkaton, Shadow Dusknoir, Feraligatr, a spicy Shadow Dragonite team coming out of nowhere, Altaria, Feraligatr, Tinkaton, a lot of Altaria. Oh, it looks like we have Altaria, Feraligatr, Tinkaton twice on here potentially, but hey, if the team works, it works, right? And then they have individual Pokemon that are particularly of high usage and perform very well, like Tinkaton, Feraligatr, Galarian Corsola, Fortress, Empoleon, Licky, and the list goes on. Additionally, here as well on the training tab, it can also allow you to potentially do some practice against a CPU opponent. So if you don't have access to your phone to play a practice battle against a friend or like a member of Discord or something like that, then you can potentially just test out training battles in the simulation built into the PvPoke website itself. And the final thing that I want to mention here is custom game masters. This is probably the best thing that's been added to the website recently. It is absolutely unbelievable how good it is. So when you go to the settings, so you go over here to settings, there's something here that says Game Master version. Now for the Game Master version right here, you can actually go to Game Master Editor, and this will allow you to set a new Game Master. Now, basically what the Game Master is it is the list of all Pokemon, all moves, and everything. So I have already built in a new Game Master, which I've just called Test, and we can go to Edit. Now, this is a really great way, especially when move update information comes out, that you can actually take a look and figure out and try and see what is actually going to be good in the new season. So let's say, for example, and now this is all hypothetical, of course, we don't know what's happening in September, but I'm just going to pick a random move. Let's pick something like Astonish. And let's say, for whatever reason, Astonish ends up getting nerfed in the new season. And Astonish ends up getting nerfed down to 10 power. Now, if Astonish does actually end up getting nerfed, I promise I did not know this information ahead of time. I was just picking something in the A's because it was listed in alphabetical order. Then you could actually adjust the base power from 12 to 10. It save changes. Data is now saved successfully. And when I go back over to here, you're going to notice a little thing at the top saying a custom game master is active. Simulations and content may change. Now, that custom game master is active with the adjustment to Astonish. So now if I try and look at Galarian Corsola against the meta, wow, Galarian Corsola, if it ends up getting that nerf from 12 to 10, would be a substantially less strong Pokemon. And in a custom game master, we can go back to settings here and go back to the Game Master editor, but you can adjust different movesets for different Pokemon. Like I can go to Bulbasaur, edit, and then I can just add a fast move in here. I can add a legacy move. I can even adjust stats. I typically wouldn't recommend adjusting stats because that's not something they have ever done, but you can also adjust the default IVs as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can use with the custom game masters to potentially take a look at what adjustments to the meta could look like down the road. Now, it is important that when you're done with all your custom game master shenanigans, change it back to default. If you don't change it back to default and then hit save settings, then you are going to just be living forever in the world where Galarian Corsola now has 10 damage per Astonish instead of 12. So it is very important that once you're done adjusting everything, put it back to normal so that way you'll be able to simulate things as they currently are and still be good. But yeah, that should about sum it up. PvPoke is an unbelievable website. I tried to cover as much of it as I could in as much detail as I could with trying to explain kind of what I use the various parts of the website for. It is an unbelievably good website. It is an incredible community resource, and it is well worth your time to go to this website frequently because it is absolutely invaluable for helping you in the Go Battle League, helping you for building Show 6 teams, and overall just helping you become a better player. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Home Slice Henry, and this is More Slice Henry, my second channel where I cover content primarily related to the Pokemon Go Championship Series, educational content like this, and in general, just any content that I feel doesn't really fit on the main channel. And if you enjoyed today's video, if you found it helpful, please do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.